Welcome to my final reflection on my learning over the course of the Educational Leadership and Management Master's Program at Royal Roads University. I'm Chris Bateman. Here I am at the start of my journey during the residency at the RRU campus. This time was essential in learning the interpersonal aspects of the cohort. I did not know yet, but discovered later on, that the Moodle forums would be quite formal and stilted, overloaded with references to prove the readings were done. If we had not had this time together at the outset, I don't know if we would have been able to put many of the postings into proper context. This particular photo shows the beautiful campus which inspired me at the time, and also my close colleague and commute buddy for the residency, Kirsten. Now I'll begin with the specific learning I gained from each course, so here we go. In our first course, I started reading texts in detail and pictured all the school administrators out there reading their latest books instead of being out in the school interacting with students and teachers. It seemed a little self-indulgent and inefficient to me. However, as the course progressed, I started to see the need for continuous improvement in a world of whitewater challenges. The second residency course, Research for School Improvement, drove this point home further. As a leader, if I was to follow the tenets of database decision-making, I would indeed have to read up, since analyzing data at that point did not come naturally to me. Both these residence courses were also very important to develop my understanding of the cohort members. I learned a great deal from these individuals and generally found that the people I was in groups with that summer were the ones I felt I understood more over the next 2 years. Our first fully online course made it very clear that school improvement will not just happen, but must be planned. In addition, the plan must be communicated to all stakeholders at the school. Building and managing the school community sounds fairly straightforward. If addressed actively, I thought as long as teachers, parents, administration, and students were on board, then the school community could gel. This was probably the first class where my beliefs were really challenged, as it was strongly asserted that local community groups should actually have a say in what happens at the school. It was also in this class that I started to see differences in the way community was defined within public and independent schools. As an independent school alum and teacher, I always thought of communication as a way to advertise our school and our students' successes. This course showed that communication within and outside of the school grounds was actually a means to improve student learning. It was nice to see that our school was on track with this in most ways, although the collection of data kept emerging as an area where we needed to focus. My learning for the technologically mediated environment turned out to be very practical. My final paper for this course was on the implementation of a digital platform called VoiceThread. After the whole systematic review of how I would implement this, I realized that it was actually a bad idea. This course resulted in me ditching a technologically mediated environment. I did, however, fully embrace Moodle as the established platform at my school, which I could co-opt for discussions I wanted to have with my students. Curriculum instruction and assessment. These are not words to get my blood pumping, but I'm happy to say that I did glean some important reminders from this course. After everything, I remembered the individual student's learning is at the heart of our work. Rubrics, Pro-D, assessment, and database change are important to help systematize across classes and districts. But if at the end of the day, a student can show you, tell you, or otherwise prove to you that they have learned, then it should be counted as a job well done, for both the student and the teacher. The system shouldn't get in the way of learning, or turn students off of learning. I went into this class thinking there must be a best way to supervise teachers, but left believing that there is no one solution at the district, school, or individual level. Bubb and Early point out the importance of self-evaluation by the teacher for improvement in the student experience. By starting with ourselves, we can grow towards what is best for the particular system we are working within. I also first designed my implementation system for my school in this course, which I later applied to my major research project. The final course was an excellent culmination of ideas. We had discussed the importance of project-based learning and personalization. Now we experienced it by following our own passions. I was grateful to come upon the teaching of creativity as a topic, since it will nicely fit with the direction my school will be going. In this way, I decided to try to implement a change that could actually happen, rather than start a revolution, or at least try to. At the end of the course, we all waxed metaphorically about the various types of vegetation, and the concept of a diversity of ideas connected well to biodiversity. I thought the massive body of research and education could be like the big tree outside our portable building at Royal Roads. We are all sprouting new ideas, new branches off the main trunk of knowledge, and adding to the overall size of the tree. Students learn from us and eventually drop down like seeds to start their own contributions to a societal forest. These are things I learned in the courses, but that's only half the story. We are not at the summit yet. First, I would like to share how I have grown as an individual, a learner, a teacher, and a leader. And for this, I'll use my portraits from our Reflective 525 course. For my first portrait, I merged a self-portrait I painted with my staff photo. In the resulting image, my professional life and my personal life merge somewhat seamlessly. That is the case with me, since I live at the school I work at. My life and work hold few divisions. The names of my family members are across my chest, since they are the most important elements in my life. I then overlaid the words from my Myers-Briggs profile to reflect my inner personality. I started by placing thinking flowing out from my head. While this is cliché, it is also fitting and perhaps unavoidable. Intuition and judgment are placed on my shoulders because planning ahead is a weight I carry in social and professional circles. Finally, I was looking for an aesthetic place to put introversion. I ended up placing it on my arm, or more specifically on my sleeve. On reflection, this was fitting, as I find being an introvert is something obvious and quite difficult to hide. Of the 4 segments of the Myers-Briggs profile, one's extroversion or introversion is the most outwardly obvious to observers. The next part is about me as a learner. On the face of it, according to the tests I took, I am a visual, pragmatic learner, but I can also learn in other ways. According to the VARC Learning Inventory, I'm a multimodal learner. I have a preference for learning visually and the capacity to learn by listening, reading, and through physical action, as the sizes of these little doodles indicate. According to the Kolb Learning Style Questionnaire, I am identified most strongly with pragmatists, although again I scored strongly as an activist and a theorist too. Reflection is the area where I need to grow, especially since I do want to see my students reflect on their work, and I should model the way. This is why I decided to communicate this all as a journaling page. The image is a literal picture of me as a reflective beginner and practitioner. I also set the whole scene in my classroom to bring to light the professional practice and my goal of modeling reflection more with my students. I finally added this text: to do, model the way, and reflect, which is a bit obvious, but I do want my goal coming out of this process to be very clear. After reflecting on myself as a person and as a learner, I now reflect on my role as an educator. As you can see, I've built off my previous image and now focus on the classroom to symbolize my teaching. I used Pratt & Collins' Teaching Perspective Inventory to glean the main characteristics of my educational practice, and compared this to Shiro's list of curricular ideologies. Through these ideas, I have an overall tendency towards social efficiency because I feel a responsibility to offer students tools and skills that will be useful to both their art and their visual communication efforts in the future. I know what I want to teach, and I plan a sequence that logically goes through the outcomes. I get to this through the experiential education that comes from students working with their hands in the art room and then reflecting on their work. The differential instruction I can give to each student over the shoulder as they work. The resilience they must show as they fail and try again and hopefully succeed. And the creativity that is required from each student as they find inspiration for their work. And so we go further up the path to now speak about leadership. You probably recognize this image by now, and I've tried to build upon it each time. My leadership philosophy is tied very closely to Kouzes and Posner's 5 practices for effective leaders. This is the model we use at our school for both adults and student leaders. The practices are model the way, inspire a shared vision, enable others to act, encourage the heart, and challenge the process. As an education leader, fostering the strengths of others is an incredibly important practice, and I must always remember that, especially when working with students. Here the leader is in the front, but reaching back to help another leader up too. And so together we get to the top of the mountain. Oh wait, we won't ever get to the top. We won't ever be done. We won't ever be done leading, or teaching, or learning, or growing as an individual. But we will take time along the way and enjoy the beautiful view on a journey of leadership and learning. Thank you for your time.